Sunday, we salute those who do the toughest job of all. It's Mother's Day, and much of what makes her job tough is the job itself and the lack of support she often gets there. In the USA's most families are led by couples. Both parents are working. Children are being raised by single moms. Child care is unaffordable to many. And the USA lags other developed nations in parental leave. Why is this, and how can we fix it? Let's ask Carol Joyner, Director for the Labor Project for Working Families, a national network of state and local coalitions helping spur the growing movement for family-friendly workplace policies, such as paid sick days and family leave insurance. And Brianna Cayo Cotter, from the Paid Leave US gang, whose mission is high-quality paid family leave for everyone. What a concept.
Yeah.
Welcome. Brianna, a report from your organization concluded that the people who most need family leave are the least likely to have it. It says 1 in 4 moms go back to work 10 days after childbirth. With unemployment now so low, employers compete for talent. Which companies, in your view, are conspicuous in terms of appropriate maternity leave, and which companies are Scrooge?
Overall, in the U.S., as you know, we are one of the only countries in the world without a paid family leave guarantee. And it's about 14% of American workers have access to any paid family leave, and that drops down to 6% if you're low income in this country. So that's a real problem. And you know, Carol's does great work expanding paid family leave in a number of states, but we have no federal mandate for it. And so overall, what you see is that a lot of companies are having to fill that gap until we get the federal insurance program that we need in this country. And so, you know, when we started to look into the policies at the top employers in this country, the Walmarts of the world, the Starbucks of the world, what we found was quite interesting. There had been a lot of positive press in the past couple of years about how great the policies were, how paid family leave policies were sweeping our nation's big employers. But when we took a look deeper at it, what we found is that for the most part, those policies were only for the elite workers within a company. So right. Salaried workers, people that worked in the corporate office, and they were completely leaving out the baristas, the clerks at the grocery store, the people, the hourly workers that really needed this leave to be with their families.
You say barista, that hints at one particular company.
Yes, exactly. And so what we started to do was work with people that work at those companies, baristas at Starbucks, the associates that work at Walmart, and we help them lead campaigns to change this, to say, our babies matter just as much as somebody that is in the corporate office. And over the last year, and actually really the last several months, we've seen a sea change starting to happen in corporate America. Major companies like Walmart, like Starbucks, like Dollar General, the list goes on, have changed their policies in response to these campaigns by employees and by customers and by investors, and are now starting to include hourly workers within those paid family leave policies.
Intra-company, so that there's no double standard between the white and the blue collar, huh?
Exactly. And there's still problems. There's most of these leave out part-time workers who are really struggling to, and many of these part-time workers are not part-time by choice. They're being forced to do less hours so that they don't have to give those benefits. But overall, I think it's a very positive trend that we are seeing, that companies are starting to realize that everybody deserves that time to be with your family. And I think it's a good signal when companies like Walmart start to offer 16 weeks of paid maternity leave, 6 weeks of paid bonding leave for other parents. That signals to our elected officials that businesses are ahead of the federal government on this issue. And so I think it kind of forces Congress to catch up.
Now, Carol, Brianna might just have surprised a lot of our viewers announcing that the USA is the only developed country that does not mandate time off for childbirth. Various states do. I live in Rhode Island, which was the third state in the USA with paid family leave, and we are proud to be the first to offer job protection. But just a handful of state mandate benefits. Does it, must it, should it fall to the unions to make this happen?
Well, it could fall to the unions. Unions have been negotiating for paid family leave for decades now. At the end of the day, we need a national standard, though, in the United States. So you don't have to work, you don't have to be lucky enough to work for Starbucks or another company that's competing. You don't have to necessarily live in Rhode Island or California or New Jersey or the other states that have passed paid family leave, but that we actually have a national standard, like the Family Act, which is a bill that has been introduced, a social insurance model. What we're hoping to build is the momentum from the ground. So in the state that you're in and the other states that offer paid family leave, we're hoping to be able to see that we can build a system in this country, like almost all the other countries in the world, that provide a minimum standard for paid family leave. And the standard has to be one that sort of meets a certain test. It can't just be any old thing, right? So it's got to make sure that there's adequate number of weeks in order for a person to actually take time off to recover and to bond and to care for their family. It also has to be affordable, so that you can also put food on the table while you're taking leave. And it's got to be accessible. It's got to be beyond maternity leave. We're talking about paid family and medical leave, right?
Absolutely.
Leave that actually allows you to take care of a new baby if you have one or adopt one, care for yourself if you're recovering from surgery or some illness, or take care of a very sick family member. One of the things we learned at the 20th anniversary of the FMLA is that the majority of the people in this country who've used FMLA, 75%, use it to care for themselves or a sick family member, not to care for a new baby. And so any care that our coalitions and the Family Values at Work Network, the care that we're promoting is care that allows you to take care of yourself, a new baby, or an illness of a family member. And so a national standard that addresses, the minimal standard like all the other countries have is what we really need to achieve in the United States.
A minimal standard that you can apply as fits your needs.
As fits your needs, so that it's accessible, it's affordable, and people actually can, use the care based upon the need that they have. And unions have been at the forefront. So the Paid Family Leave Network, the Family Values at Work Network, has many unions engaged. Sometimes they bargain. Sometimes they work on these policies through, within the coalition. And the important part of that is that we're building this sort of grassroots national momentum. Cross movement. I think you would agree with that.
Absolutely.
So we're talking about LGBTQ families, disabled, the disability rights communities, unions, all kinds of groups are engaged in this work to see that we actually have the freedom to care in the United States like other countries.
Too often we think of labor negotiations as confrontational, a labor union versus management, but fixing this can be a win-win, can't it?
Everyone. It's absolutely a win-win. And we know that if you look at the other countries that have paid family leave or maternity leave or some form, that what we're seeing is that, it strengthens the economy. Women are more attached to the labor force. They return to work healthy, and their families are healthier and stronger. The children bond better. Breastfeeding is a big deal with regard to health care. And on average in the world, 6 months is kind of the time that they're saying the minimum time that you should have for paid family leave in order to, breastfeed your child, in order to recover from having had a baby, or to recover from an illness. And the United States, we're talking weeks, and other places are talking months.
Wow. Brianna and Carol, in that order, we've recently been interviewing women who are running for Congress, and this year it's a record number, more than twice as many as last time. Do you think that the USA is lacking this paid family leave policy because there haven't been more women voting in Congress?
I mean, paid family leave is wildly popular public policy. It addresses all of these different concerns that impact so many people's lives. If you care about child development, if you care about closing the gender wage gap, if you care about having your small business being able to recruit and retain workers, this is excellent public policy that helps a lot of people. And it's And 75% of Republicans, 90% of Democrats support paid family leave policy. And I think what we have been lacking is political leadership on this issue. It's been something that in the Family Act, which Carol mentioned, which is a leading piece of legislation in Congress and the Senate right now, has not a single Republican has signed on to co-sponsor that, and many Democrats haven't either. And so when you see that happening, when it's a policy that positively impacts so many people's lives. Over 100 million people currently do not have paid family leave in this country. And when it's a policy that impacts so many people's lives in such a positive way, helps our economy, helps our families, helps our children, we need our politicians to start fighting for paid family leave.
But most people vote in presidential years. This ought to get them to the polls midterm, shouldn't it?
It ought to. And a very exciting thing happened recently where Senator Tammy Duckworth, had her baby.
Yeah.
History is made when the first senator is pregnant.
Yep.
And really, they're changing rules around children actually allowed on the Senate floor. So it's not for us a question of, if this is going to happen. Ultimately, we're building the momentum on the ground for paid family leave. As Brianna said, the polling suggests that no matter what party you're in, you're supportive of these issues. You see that they're important to families and the economy. It's a win-win for corporations. Many of them have laid that sort of gauntlet down. It's also a win-win for all families in this country. And when you see changes like that happening in the Senate, it just underscores that, this is not a red or blue issue. It's an American issue. In fact, there's a state senator from Washington State. They just passed paid family leave. Named Joe Fain, who's a Republican, who actually is, very supportive of paid family leave. He helped to, bring into being the paid leave law in the state of Washington, and he did it because he took 3 months off when his wife had a child, and his wife took 3 months off, and what he realized is with all of that time and with help from their parents, he was exhausted because having a baby and going through that process changes your whole family.
When the baby sleeps, you sleep.
Exactly, that's the rule, but that doesn't often happen. I had one, and I was wide awake trying to eat when the baby was asleep.
More to Mother's Day than flowers and chocolates and greeting cards, and I am grateful for your time. Carol Joyner, Labor Project for Working Families, and Brianna Cayo Cotter, Paid Leave US. Sunday is Mother's Day, and if you still have your mom, thank her. And if you don't still have her, I bet you have found, as I have, that she never really leaves you. I'm Holland Cook in Washington. Back next week and on Twitter in the meantime. Question more.